What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to have a pretty long stream on the channel because there was press conferences today. And so I couldn't stream during the press conferences, but I decided that I'm going to wait till after, recap all these press conferences. So getting a chance to listen to these guys was very enjoying for me. I wanted to hear these guys' voices. I wanted to hear what they had to say. I wanted to hear these guys' voices, get to know them a little bit. And I do want to state a few things real quick. So, Dan Quinn kind of said what I thought he was going to say. He talked about his past and how he wanted to change the philosophy. He, obviously talking about this job that he got and this opportunity that he got in Washington. He's obviously not going to screw it up. Talked about, the hires that he made and how, you know, how he learned to hire, to know how to hire the right guy. Talked about Durante Jones, how they just hit it off. And we'll talk about all this later, but make sure you guys click the like button first. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel as well. But yeah, so they talked about how they hit it off, right off the bat. And Durante Jones is a good talker. Like, I'll say that. Durante Jones is a good talker. He said some really good things. That's kind of the biggest takeaway for me is Durante Jones is a pretty good talker to me. It's easy to see how he impressed Dan Quinn in his interview. Feels like he's prepared and ready for this job. So, Durante Jones definitely a good talker, and again, it feels like he's prepared for this type of job. Blau didn't really say anything that shocked me. He kind of seemed like us, like, I'm surprised I got the job, but I feel like I'm ready for it. The experience that I have under some coaches that I've coached under. So that was kind of some insight there, but we're going to take a look, and I have had a chance to listen to these guys talk for a little bit. I was doing something while they were talking, so obviously came back, listened to a little bit of these press conferences, but I'm really going to react in real time to what these guys have had to say. And so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to look at what these guys have to say, and we're going to kind of dive into what they have to say. So Dan Quinn was the first guy to speak, and then it was Durante Jones, and then David Blau was the last guy. These are around 20 to 30-minute press conferences. There's nothing major here, but it is something. And again, I told y'all, I just wanted to hear these guys talk. And so getting to hear these guys talk is good for me. So, and by the way, just I see a super chat, so I'll get to the comments at the end of the video. So whenever we get to the end of this stream, I will get to the comment section, but you guys can go ahead and flood the comment section already. Leave your thoughts on these press conferences. Make sure you smash the like button, smash that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and get into what was said. So Wes Welker, first of all, is getting a role on the offensive side of the ball this season in Washington. So obviously last year, there's a running joke, him and Luke McCaffrey. Obviously last year, he was a small part of the offense, helped the wide receivers out, but nothing major. Yeah, so Wes Welker, obviously, he'll be back. Dan Quinn made that clear. He'll be back. Getting a role on the offensive side of the ball. That role will be determined later on. We don't know the full role of Wes Welker, but that's not a huge deal. So Dan Quinn talked about the coaching changes. He said, we have tons of respect for both Cliff and Joe, but we thought it was time for a change. And obviously everybody thought it was time for a change. These guys were not very good. Joe Jr. was bad. And so Cliff didn't really do a whole lot wrong, but Dan Quinn made sure to pay his respect, but we have changes to make. Dan Quinn knows that this is his final job that he's going to get as a head coach. And if this doesn't work out, he's not getting another opportunity. So like what he said there, Dan Quinn on David Blau's inexperience calling plays, which whoever asked this question was probably JP Finley, to be honest with you. That's a good question. He said, I know he hasn't been coaching for a long time, but when you're a backup quarterback, you have different experiences. When you haven't called plays, you've been waiting for it. So this is what I've said all along is if he wasn't a quarterback and he only had 2 years of coaching experience, that would be worrisome for me. But we can't forget, David Blau played quarterback, and he can walk these guys through certain situations. I think this is kind of honestly the best experience in some areas, this is kind of the best experience that you can have is being a quarterback. Talking guys through certain things. It's just really good experience to have, and David Blau has that experience. So Dan Quinn understands the experience that he has, and he made sure to let us know like he's not a very inexperienced guy. He played quarterback. Him and Jaden Daniels have a strong relationship. Dan Quinn said when he talked to new defensive coordinator Durante Jones, he asked him to evaluate players first, and then Dan Quinn said, "I felt the calm within the storm," is what Dan Quinn ended up saying. And what I'm getting from all of this and, the reports that we saw is basically Dan Quinn and Durante Jones hit it right off the bat. And it really only took a week to get the deal finalized. They just kind of connected and had the same plan and liked what each other said. And again, when we get into what Durante Jones had to say, you'll understand more of why Durante Jones really impressed Dan Quinn, because he's a good talker. Just listening to him talk, he's a good talker. So I'll say that. Dan Quinn also said Jaden Daniels wasn't the deciding factor in the David Blau hire, but the relationship was a good factor in the staff changes. So obviously that's a big part of why David Blau was hired, because him and Jaden Daniels already have that unique experience. They're already worked together. He's already been around David Blau a lot. And let's not forget, David Blau was the quarterback's coach at the end of the season last year. And these two have a strong relationship. So, these two have a strong relationship. They are really, excited to get to work together. Jaden Daniels, he's been asked multiple times, and they're really excited to work together. And I'm just really glad to hear that. Here, I'll zoom that in a little bit. They're really excited to work together. And, I think they're going to work well, to be honest with you. I think they're going to work well. It's good that they have experience together. And again, it's so valuable, David Blau's experience as a quarterback. He can walk Jaden Daniels through so many things that, you guys don't even understand when you talk bad about David Blau. Like, there is good experience there. So, yeah, but Jaden Daniels obviously not the deciding factor. That was basically what that report was. Dan Quinn also said the offense going forward will have more under center, more play action. That sounds quite different than the Kingsbury offense, which again, whenever they were under center, I mean, they were good last year. It just felt like we were always asking them to play under center more. And you're getting kind of a Kevin O'Connell, Ben Johnson offense that's going to be under center most of the time. And so that's what you should expect with David Blau. That's kind of what he is. And so that's what Dan Quinn said the offense will kind of look like going forward. And it's really an interesting thing. And I'm glad that we're getting a guy that has experience under a Ben Johnson. It's really going to be a change of philosophy on the offense. It really is. Dan Quinn said on the decision to make the change at the offensive line position, and I'm really interested in this as well. I didn't watch this part of the presser. He said new vision for how we want to go about it. So with this, how I would interpret this is just basically they want to kind of clean house. They want to bring in a new guy. They don't want to keep around a Bobby Johnson. They don't want to keep him around. They want a new change, and also a guy that didn't have strong ties to Cliff Kingsbury. That's kind of how I read that from Dan Quinn. DQ also said about changing things this offseason. He said, I'm not going to carry over the things that sucked. So, this was a good line because you can see this as a lot of ways. Hold on, let me check this real quick. Okay. You can see this a lot of ways. You can take this as him being really harsh and saying Joe Witt Jr. and Cliff Kingsbury, they sucked. We're not going to carry over guys that sucked. You can see that. But it doesn't seem like Dan Quinn to say that, right? So I'm not really sure how to interpret this, but basically they're not going to carry over the old ways. They're not going to carry over the ways that sucked. They're not going to do that. They are going to bring in new guys and change this thing and turn this thing around. They're not going to stay with mid guys. By the way, guys, make sure you click the like button on this stream. Make sure you guys subscribe if you are not subscribed. Make sure you guys type in the comment section. I'll be getting to all comments in the comment section after I'm finished talking, and I'll read what you guys have to say. So make sure you flood the comment section on this stream. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm not going to carry over the things that sucked. That's really interesting. And I really liked that Dan Quinn said that. I do. I think that's an awesome line. Dan Quinn also made clear that new defensive coordinator Durante Jones gets to implement his own system, which is what Dan Quinn was going to have him do all along. Obviously, Dan Quinn is going to have his hands in the defense a little bit, like he's going to oversee the defense, but what Durante Jones does is his, and that this is his defense. And when, you know, Dan Quinn says that to him in a press conference, obviously that's going to make Durante Jones more excited about coming here, and that's going to make him want to come here even more, because Durante Jones had a lot of teams that wanted to potentially hire him. So I think Dan Quinn letting him know it's his system, whatever he wants to implement, he's going to implement. I think that's a really solid thing. I think that's a really solid thing. And I think that really, honestly, is a big reason in why Durante Jones wanted to come here. And that's how you hire a guy, right? It's his system. So, Dan Quinn did mention that assistant special teams coach Brian Schneider was dealing with cancer throughout last season, and Wes Welker stepped in to help out in his absence. Prayers to Brian and his family. They did mention that. So this isn't even JP Finley's tweet. Let's get to Durante Jones, some of what Durante Jones had to say. So Commanders' new defensive coordinator, Durante Jones, says he wants to build relationships with players, and he said it starts with trust. And so I really like this. Again, this is one of the great things that Durante Jones said today, building trust with the guys, building that trust, letting them know that he's only here to build them up. And I really liked it starts with trust, because that's what it's all about when you're a defensive coordinator. So I did really like that. It sounds like Jaden Daniels will be running a very different offense this fall, under center, more play action, more power run game could be very beneficial. They talked about this a little bit. They talked about JP Finley wanted to tweet this basically to sum up kind of what Dan Quinn said and what he sounded like. And so that's what that was. JP asked about his base defense. Durante Jones says 3-4, 4-3. They're just numbers. It's just 7-man spacing. Jones says he wants Washington to be multiple. So, obviously you're not going to we're not going to say that they're going to run a 3-4 defense here. There's going to be multiple things that Durante Jones can do. And I love that Durante Jones is a new defensive coordinator, because you have that factor of you don't know what's going to happen. Don't just go easy and run a 3-4 defense, right? Everyone knows that that's kind of what Durante Jones wants to run. That's what he wants to run, and that's what he's probably going to run. Well, no, Durante Jones, we're not going to reveal anything. We're not going to sit here and let you know what we're going to run. I really like this, right? It's just numbers. And he wants Washington to be multiple. So I like that. Durante Jones did talk about Frankie Louvu. He said, I love Frankie Louvu. He said he wants him to get him along downhill, which is awesome. And this comment right here is going to play a big part in just the extension of Frankie Louvu, bringing him back on this football team. Obviously, he's under contract, but giving him an extension this offseason. We assume Frankie Louvu is going to get an extension. So more that he said about Frankie Louvu was he's best going downhill. He's best when he can use his athleticism. He uses his speed. He says he wants to get him matched up on running backs as a rusher. So that's what Durante Jones said about Frankie Louvu, and that's very exciting. That's very exciting to hear, because Frankie Louvu, he's a dog, man. He has some really good traits to him. So Durante Jones mentions Jordan Magee's versatility. I guess somebody asked him about Jordan Magee's versatility, and I'm really excited about Jordan Magee, as most of you are too. So not surprised that he commented on that, or somebody asked him about that. Durante Jones said he's already put together individualized plans for improvement this offseason. That's pretty impressive in a short period of time, is what JP Finley said. Obviously, you're going to have a plan when you come in here, so I'm not very impressed by any of that. You have to have a plan. So, but yeah, he said he has some individualized plans for improvement this offseason. We'll see what he does. This defense is going to be tricky to try to turn around and fix. So, we got to put our trust in Jones. Durante Jones said, he did say, one of my strengths is my ability to connect to people. So speaking of people, Durante Jones talked about, the first question was John Keim asked him was, how did you get here to this point? And he said, and I really like this answer, by the way, he said, just the guys that I worked with, being under Vance Joseph, being under, Mike Zimmer, being under the guys that I was under, learning the lessons that I learned from them was really beneficial for me. And it really got me to where I am today, because those guys taught me how to coach. They taught me the lessons I need to know. And he basically said, in a nutshell, I'm prepared for this job. And I have been sitting back and I've been waiting for this job. And, Brian Flores obviously talked about him, how he's molded him into the right coach. So, Durante Jones is ready for this job, man. I don't know if he's going to do a good job. I don't know if he's going to do a bad job, but he sounds ready for this job. He sounds ready for this job. And hold up. Here's one more thing about him is, let's just remember, guys, that, the day when Joe Witt Jr. had his introductory press conference, everybody said that he talked well. Everybody said that, how he impressed Dan Quinn, that he, that how he got hired under Dan Quinn. Everybody said that about Joe Witt Jr. So we can't get too far ahead of ourselves when we're talking about, when we're talking about Durante Jones and being a good speaker. Obviously, he did good today, but we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. So, and I'm not saying anyone is, but, he sounded good today. Durante Jones says he is aggressive by nature, but blitzing / covering decisions will be based on personnel. He said aggression can also be seen in fundamentals, hitting and tackling, which I also thought was interesting. He's a very energetic coach. He's a very physical coach, and he's going to lead these guys. He's going to teach these guys how to hit and tackle. And when I was watching him mic'd up at the Senior Bowl, like, he was talking about how, he was talking about how you tackle for the ball, and they always go for the ball, his defense. And I really like that. The aggression that he coaches with is very fun and exciting. So that was basically what Durante Jones said in a nutshell. I pretty much covered what he had to say, talked about his life, talked about how he got here, talked about Frankie Louvu, Jordan McGee, his scheme. He basically covered everything. Durante Jones was very good today. He was, doing solid as a speaker today. But again, I wouldn't get too far ahead of anything, because again, Joe Witt Jr. was a good speaker, and he came to the podium when he had his introductory presser, and he spoke well. He let everyone know, what his plans were, and we felt like it was a change of something. But Joe Witt Jr. was terrible. So one more thing about Durante Jones, which I kind of already covered. Durante Jones said that he's already created IEPs, individualized educational program, for each individual player on defense, already in what they can improve on. That's impressive. So IEPs, individualized educational program, for each individual player on this defense currently. He's already told them what they can improve on. That is very, very impressive. That is very impressive for a new defensive coordinator. I told y'all, obviously, you're going to come in here with plans, but he has created IEPs for every single player on this defense. That is very impressive. That is very impressive. I'll just say that right now. That's very impressive. But anyways, let's get to what David Blau had to say. So David Blau on getting named offensive coordinator. I don't know about this. I'm surprised, but certainly grateful. I've always had aspirations for this, and I'm really excited to get it going. So this is what I said earlier when I said, David Blau was kind of like us. He was shocked, but he's ready to get this going. I think us as fans are really excited for David Blau because of the guys that he's worked under and also being a quarterback. David Blau was just shocked at the trajectory of how this went. And he's obviously grateful. He said, "Hey, I'm glad he's had aspirations to be an offensive coordinator his whole life, right? And he knows what it is. If he has a bad first year, like he might not be here very long. But I think him and Jaden Daniels are going to work well together." So he did talk a little bit about that. Let's see here. So, of putting the quarterback under center, David Blau says it's something I'm convicted about, and Jaden can thrive with more options and play action opportunities. Again, he's going to look into Ben Johnson's offense. He's going to look into Kevin O'Connell's offense. He's going to look and study the guys that he's coached under, and you're going to see a similar type offense to those guys. Now, you're not going to see the full thing. That's the great part about having David Blau in here is you're not going to know exactly what he's going to do. But, man, you're going to see a fresh offense and something Jaden Daniels can thrive in. He knows the potential that Jaden Daniels has, and it's really exciting to hear what David Blau has to say about these guys. It really is. So David Blau talked about his relationship with Jaden Daniels. He said, as much as we can, we're going to keep that continued relationship, I'll say. He said, we all know that as he goes, we all go. So they're going to keep the relationship further and further towards the end of the year. And they meshed together. They got together and they've been together this offseason ever since he was hired, and they've had some deep talks, and they're ready. And he's going to put Jaden Daniels in a good position. Again, he understands the potential of Jaden Daniels. Their relationship is a very good relationship, and I'm excited. I'm very excited. So, so interesting comments from David Blau about Washington's running back room here. Only one running back under contract right now. So obviously will be additions, but Blau voiced his confidence in Bill as a potential running back one. Before I talk about that, make sure you guys smash the like button. Let's try and get up to 20 likes in the stream. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you are not a part of this community already. If you want to send a super chat, that would be appreciated. Those help out a lot. And then flood the comment section though. Let me hear all your thoughts about these pressers today. I'm sure I'm going to hear a lot about how Durante Jones had a really good press conference, and Dan Quinn for that matter. But let me hear all your thoughts in the comment section. I'll get to all the comments at the end of this stream, or at the end when I finish talking about these pressers. So Bill being the running back one, so obviously they're probably going to bring in another guy, but David Blau, he's not going to degrade one of his guys, right? But he's going to build his guys up. And so I'm not surprised he had good things to say about Bill. I mean, he's a 7th round pick, didn't really come from anywhere. And, he had that great season last year. So, David Blau witnessed it all too. He saw every game, right? So I think this is one of my favorite parts about him being the offensive coordinator is he was around all these guys last year. Not necessarily, Bill, but he was around all these guys. And so he knows what kind of season Bill had. He knows what Dan Quinn wants out of Bill, and he knows what the plan is with Bill. So obviously he talked good about him though. So he had some interesting comments apparently about Bill Krosky Merritt. So we're going to get to some of these. We're going to get to some of these things that were said that maybe you have missed, or maybe I missed that I didn't see. So David Blau. So yeah, this is one right here that we didn't see. David Blau and his background, very fortunate to be around great coaches. Always had aspirations for this. Really excited to get it going. I did read some of that, but obviously talking about our coaches, how they're good coaches, excited to be around them. And it's exciting for David Blau. It really is. And he's been around Ben Johnson again, Kevin O'Connell. So I'm really excited about this offense, guys. I'm really excited about this offense. I'm really excited to see what David Blau does. He already introduced how he's going to get Jaden under center more. And I'm just really excited. So it's going to be fun to see how David Blau can change up this offense. But I just know that he's going to do a solid job here. You know, I know that he's going to put all his effort in, and I know Jaden wanted him here. That's another good thing. So let's see if we can get another reporter up here, find anything out that maybe we didn't see yet. So what is this? David Blau just shared a version of this story about calling the game-winning touchdown pass in 2024 win over the Eagles. So let's read this. This is interesting. And I can obviously. So one shared moment in particular stuck with Blau early in the 2024 offseason. Daniels hesitated on a concept Blau had seen executed countless times by former Lions teammate Matthew Stafford. Blau pulled a clip from 2019 when Stafford ran the play against the Raiders and shared it during the offseason program. Quote, the next time we get the same look, Jaden pulls the trigger, looks at me, winks, and basically says, I'm a believer. Blau recalled days after Daniels' touchdown to Crowder sealed a win over Philadelphia. Quote, then you see it hit on Sunday. Blau continued, you see the full progression of it. That was really special. So that's interesting, guys. I didn't know that. I did not know that. So apparently David Blau in 2024 helped scheme up a play that he had seen the Lions run when he was a part of the Lions as the backup quarterback there. And he basically taught Jaden how to run it, told Jaden how to run it, and it worked. So that's very interesting. That is very interesting. And I'm just that's really good news. That's really good stuff to hear. That really is good stuff to hear. So yeah, that's interesting. I am impressed with David Blau as well, and I'm impressed with Durante Jones. One more thing from Durante Jones here. So on what his defense in Washington will show, I'm not going to say all the typical coaching buzzwords, but when you turn on the tape, joy will be number one. I think when you see joy out there, teams are playing selflessly. You want to see guys that are constantly creating takeaways. You want to see guys playing with high IQ and intelligence, but joy is the biggest thing. I'm glad he said this first and foremost, because when we saw Joe Witt Jr. and we watched his press conference a few years ago for the first time, there was overwhelming joy from us because we had saw Joe Witt Jr. use those buzzwords. We're going to be violent. We're going to be physical. We're going to hit hard. Durante Jones is more of a show it guy, more of a prove it guy than all this talk and nothing happens on the field. So this is exciting and this is interesting. Joy will be number one, apparently. Joy will be number one. That's interesting. But let's see. So let's see if there's any other things that I want to get to here. I did sum up all the press conferences. I think all three guys did a solid job. But I'll get to kind of what stuck out to me the most today. I'll get to that in a second. So let's look at the coaching staff real quick. So right now, among the new coaches, offensive line coach Darnell Stapleton was promoted. He had already been here. Quarterbacks coach DJ Williams, Doug Williams' son. Offensive assistant, exact role to be determined, Wes Welker. Defensive line coach Eric Henderson. Assistant defensive line coach Daryl Tapp, reassigned. and then cornerback coach William Gay on the promotion. So that's interesting to hear those coaches, but that's the coaches. That's the rundown. That's the rundown of basically what was said. So let's see. Is there anything is there anything else that I would want to get to? So let me put the coaches up on the screen. I guess I'll leave the coaches up on the screen. We'll put that on the screen, and then I'll get to kind of what I want to finish this out with, and then I'll read y'all's comments. So, all right. Okay, so obviously interesting stuff that we had here. Interesting stuff. And all three guys did a great job. First and foremost, all three guys did a great job. I think they all kind of told us, not everything, but they told us some really good things. They told us the right things, and they said what they needed to say. So these guys are intelligent guys. Dan Quinn, I think he did a good job hiring. And I think that he brought the right guys in. Man, why can I not find these stupid files? I'm trying to bring in these files here that I was trying to put up on the screen, but I mean, let me see if I can let me see if I can pull this up. I thought that maybe I thought I'd be able to pull them up, but maybe not. So yeah, maybe I won't be able to get them up on the screen. Anyways, though, Dan Quinn hit it right off the bat with Durante Jones. And it's easy to see how he hit it right off the bat with Durante Jones, because Durante Jones did a fantastic job. He did a fantastic job in his press conference. He let us know why he's here. He told us the experience that he had, and he spoke very loudly, and he made sure that he's going to prove it. He didn't use all this word soup or anything. He made sure that he was going to prove what he was saying, prove to us why he's going to be the right guy here. And I think that's what stuck out to me the most, because in the past years, Joe Witt Jr. had come in here and he said a bunch of this crap and we got all excited, but it wasn't anything to be excited about because he never carried through with any of it. But I have this confidence. In Durante Jones just after that press conference that he's really installed in a lot of people that listen to that presser, and he installed that confidence in us. And now we have a reason to be excited. Now we have a reason to be excited. This dude knows how to coach a defense. Okay? He knows how to coach a defense. He is ready for this opportunity. I think one of the things that's become more clear to me is he has good experience and he's ready for this job. David Blau, on the other hand, is a very inexperienced guy. He's a very inexperienced guy, and he played quarterback, but he doesn't have the coaching experience that most teams would like you to have. So Durante Jones is ready for this job, in my opinion. And just the whole IEP thing, doing that with every guy, really stuck out to me. That really impressed me, and that really gave me confidence, and that gave me hope for the future. I think Durante Jones is going to come in here and do a very good job as the defensive coordinator. And I love Dan Quinn knowing that he can hire a Raheem Morris, knowing that he can hire a guy that that all of us expect him to hire. and he goes the different route because he's went the route of playing it safe before and it hasn't worked out. So Dan Quinn has changed the philosophy here in Washington by bringing Durante Jones in, and I can't tell you how excited I am to hear Durante Jones, to hear him talk, and to hear what he has to say, because it was very impressive. It was very impressive what Durante Jones said today. It's all Jones' system now, and I'm pleased with his press conference. David Blau, his presser was good. He said a lot of things that I expected him to say. He said he's really excited to challenge Jaden Daniels, which is awesome. I mean, I want you to challenge my quarterback, obviously. So there's a lot of hope in this staff, and there's a lot of hope in this staff, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I think Dan Quinn knows exactly what he's doing, and I think Dan Quinn is going to prepare these guys even more than they already are prepared. And I think that he's going to do a great job with them. So I can't be more excited. I can't be more excited about these guys and how I think they're going to fit in Washington. I really can't be more excited. So these files aren't working, by the way, to bring them up. So Durante Jones has a good voice. He did really well. Dan Quinn, we hear him talk all the time. He did really well. David Blau, we have never heard him talk, but they all let us have confidence for the future. That's what they did. They all gave us confidence for the future. They all let us know why this staff can be competent next season. And so I'm just really excited for the future because these are coaches that have worked under coaches that really impress me. Durante Jones just being under Mike Zimmer, being under Vance Joseph, being under Brian Flores. I mean, it's, you're going to see so much change. And then also bring in Eric Henderson. You're going to see so much change. You're going to see a physical defense. You're going to see a defense that you haven't seen before. And it's going to be an absolute new scene here in Washington with these two coordinators. And Blau with Jaden Daniels, Blau's close to a Shanahan tree guy. Blau's close to that. Blau is an excellent offensive mind, and he's going to be something someday. So, again, all three guys did well. All three guys impressed me. All three guys had a good press conference, and we went over what all three guys had to say. With that said, let's get to the comment section here, and then I'll get y'all out of here. Make sure you guys smash the like button on this stream. If you have not done so, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. Any super chats are greatly appreciated, and we got 19 comments. So if you want to jump to the front of the line in the comment section, super chats are the way to do that. Anyways, let's get to this comment section. So let's get the super chat first. Chris Carter, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for your support, my guy. Thank you for leaving the super chat. Time to win on the field. Exactly. That's what I'm feeling after this is, again, we can hear these guys talk. We can hear these guys say what kind of system they're going to implement. We can hear these guys say that they're going to be fast, physical, and violent. I mean, heck, I had Joe Witt Jr. on my intro whenever he did his press conference because his audio was awesome to hear. It was awesome to hear. I heard what he had to say, and it was some very good things. But Durante Jones clearly told us that he's not going to tell you too much because what he wants to do is he just wants to go out on the field and prove it. So you're right. It's time to now win on the field. It's time to now execute on the field. And I'll be interested to see how they do it, but I have so much confidence in Durante Jones. So much confidence in Durante Jones. And I truly do believe when you hear guys say, that Dan Quinn and Durante Jones hit it right off the bat, I truly believe that they did. I truly believe that they did. So I'm very excited about all these new hires. And again, it's time to go win on the field now. There's nothing left for this team to do but to just go win on the field. That's what is going to happen now, is winning on the football field. That's what has to happen now. And I have confidence in this staff to get it done. So, thank you for the super chat again. What's up, Carter? How's it going, man? Loved what I heard from Durante Jones. What's going on, man? Haven't seen you in a while, but it's the off season. I don't do these live streams very much. So, good to see you, man. I love what I heard from Durante Jones as well. Again, that's kind of the consensus after the presser today. Is obviously we all loved what we heard from Durante Jones. He introduced himself very well, and he spoke about his defense very well. And he let us know the plans for the future. I remember I was on a high after hearing Joe Witt Jr. speak to the media when he first came in here. I remember I was on a high. And I was feeling very good. I was thinking about how this defense is going to be so much better, and I didn't see the results on the football field. And I think the first year we kind of tried to ignore it. But when I tell you there's going to be a change with Durante Jones, there's going to be a change. It's going to be a different philosophy. It's going to be a different Durante Jones. This is a guy that's worked under some of the best. This is a guy that was a pass game coordinator with the Vikings. The only other option for him was to be promoted, and he deserved to get promoted, and he did. So, love the more under center stuff in his offense because it will be harder to prepare for Jaden and this whole offense alone, and Jaden strives under center. That's what I said is, when you look at it, it's good to have one of these guys that, man, people just don't know stuff about. It's good to have one of these guys because, man, you don't know what's coming. This is a mix of a Ben Johnson offense. This is a mix of a Darnell Stapleton, or sorry, not Darnell Stapleton, I saw his name. This is a mix of Ben Johnson offense. This is a mix of a Kevin O'Connell offense. This is going to be a very fun offense to watch. I can just tell you that right now. I can just tell you right now that he's going to have Jaden playing out of his mind. So, what's up, Carter? Good to see everybody. What's going on, Steve? It's been a little while, but how are you doing, man? How are you feeling about these press conferences? I'm sure I'll see some further comments here, but what's going on, man? You never ever let the enemy know what you're going to do. Don't broadcast anything to the opposing team. Exactly. That's another thing. You don't know what Durante Jones, his defense is going to look like. And so, I mean, these guys just get you very excited. These guys just get you very excited. You don't know what his defense is going to look like. You have no clue. So, I'm glad that he didn't broadcast to the world what he was going to do with his defense today. Durante Jones spoke highly and praised both Mike Samerstow and Trey Amos. Yeah, so he did talk about the cornerbacks. He talked about cornerback versatility. He talked about depth. And let me see if I can find the exact comments from him, because he did say some interesting things about the cornerbacks that I think were interesting. That I think kind of are hinting at Mikey and stuff. All right. So yeah, basically versatility, depth, talking about how he likes his corner, like how he likes his corners to be in his defense. Obviously worked with Brian Flores, under Brian Flores being the pass game coordinator. He knows a lot about cornerbacks. If there's one guy that I would want to come in here and get Mike Samerstow right, get Trey Amos right, it's Durante Jones. And Trey Amos has a super bright future, and he knows that. So I'm glad that he praised those guys. It's good to hear it. Super excited after hearing this. Yeah, again, a lot of people were super excited after hearing this because this is a breath of fresh air. These are two press conferences that just really get you excited. And these are two new guys that you don't know what they're going to do, but these are two new guys that are taking lessons from their old spots and their old jobs, and they're going to put them into action. They're going to put them into action, and they're going to get the fans excited. And that's what they've done. That's what they've done with me. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Surprisingly, he mentioned Quan Martin and how he likes Quan Martin's game, which was surprising. I did see that. I did see something about Quan Martin and how he talked about Quan Martin. Quan Martin could have failed because of the bad coaches here. That's how simple it can be. If Durante Jones believes that, he can fix or he can turn Quan Martin into something, then so be it. It's exactly what you want. I'm not going to, not give Quan a chance. I mean, if he's happy with Quan being here, if he wants Quan to be here and he feels like he can turn him into something, then keep him. Keep him. But all I'm saying is last year, Quan Martin was awful. And he looked like he didn't know how to cover. So that's what I'll say. My jury is mostly out on Quan, but at the same time, he could have been poorly coached. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that's exactly what I said is he could have been poorly coached by this staff. It's as simple as that. But I'm out on Quan too. I'm out on Quan too. If our new defensive coordinator wants to keep him here, obviously, I'll be all in on keeping him here. But after what I saw last season, I'm out on Quan Martin. And he's going to have to prove something to get me back on board with him. But I'm glad to hear, Durante Jones install some confidence under Quan Martin. Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe that's what he needs. Defense wins championships. Jones' first year as defensive coordinator has to look dominant. Again, no, it doesn't have to look dominant. That's one of the biggest misconceptions here is I think the Dan Quinn getting fired this year thing is kind of a little bit overblown because if they go 8-9 and both of these coordinators look competent, it's just a matter of, they're a little bit too young. I think next year they can be explosive. If that's the case, then I think Dan Quinn has a strong chance of staying. So I'm not even going to, sit here and say that, Jones has to be dominant. He just has to be good. He can't be flat out bad. And I think Durante Jones will be good. Like, I think he's truly is prepared for this job. So, Devin McCourty FaceTime Crowder after the Eagles win and asked about the play. He said they did it in practice. It worked and then executed the play in the game for the win. Blau's play. Okay, so that's great. So, again, you can see the offensive mind that he has. You can see the creativity, the just the bag that David Blau could possibly have is exciting. It is really going to get me fired up. And I think his new offense has a chance to be special. And I'm so excited to see what David Blau's offense is going to look like. But again, now it's just about getting these guys on the field. But yeah, that whole thing's interesting. And that just really brings me to a good spot with David Blau here in that situation. Gay's still here as a corners coach. Quick reminder that our corners sucked last season. Yeah, William Gay is the cornerbacks coach. He was promoted. I don't know why Tommy Donatel's still here. Obviously, he's a joke in the fan base, but I don't understand why these guys are here. If you're going to change, like Dan Quinn, did you not like what you saw last season? These cornerbacks were terrible. And granted, we had probably the top two guys out, but these cornerbacks were terrible. These cornerbacks looked like they didn't know how to play football. these cornerbacks were sad. I would think you would want to change the cornerback room. I would think you want to change it. But hey, that's just me. What's going on, Astro, man? It's been a while. How are you doing, man? How are you feeling about these press conferences? Except for Trey Amos, everyone pretty much sucked. Exactly. Lattimore sucked. Sainristil sucked. Igbenogany sucked. Jones sucked. These cornerbacks sucked. I don't get why you're keeping the cornerback coaches here. But again, whatever Durante Jones does, whatever these new guys do, I'm going to be on board with until I see it fail. That's just me. So I'm not going to hate. There's still time for these guys to be fired, but they promoted William Gay, and I don't know why. From what was said from Jones, he spoke highly of how he needs to trust his players and put them in the best situation to have success and be successful every single Sunday or whenever we are playing. Yes, I heard that. And again, he's just a guy that he's such a leader. He's such a leader. And he said the big thing that he wants to focus on now is building trust with these guys, put them in a position to be successful. Talked about one guy in particular, Frankie Louvu. Again, the IEPs of how he studied every single guy, talked about how he can make them successful. I mean, that's just impressive stuff. That is impressive stuff right there. That's impressive stuff. If you don't think Durante Jones wants this, he wants it. And it's very exciting. Jones also spoke highly of how he wants to get to know his players and what they are good at and what they need to improve and work on. Yeah, again, the IEPs was what every single guy on the football team needs to work on. That just impresses me. Every time I think about it, that impresses me. That impresses me. So, he did talk highly about a few players on this defense. I thought it was really impressive what he had to say. Between Jones and Henderson, we're going to see some awesomely good changes in our defense. Yeah, Henderson is a really good defensive hire. Like that is a really good hire. That's what I've seen more and more. It's just Henderson being a super good hire. So yeah, that's going to work out. But Durante Jones, that's also going to work out. These are physical coaches. These are good coaches, man. I'm telling you. Now it's just about going on the field, putting the results together. Witt did sound good in his pressers. The difference is that Jones can back up what he says. That's clear evidence of that. Exactly. Again, it's time to go on the field and prove what you just said. Witt couldn't back up what he said. They didn't play violent. They didn't get takeovers and turnovers. And so he didn't back up what he said. So he's a liar. But that was the last comment. So what we learned from today, let's do a quick summary. So Durante Jones is a really good speaker. And he did a really nice job today. Dan Quinn did a really nice job as well. He had a few good lines in his press conference. David Blau also did a good job, talked about some good things. We got some good insight today. I hope this stream informed you and got you ready for what you're about to see next season. Make sure you guys smash the like button on the way out. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel on the way out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hail to the Washington Commanders as always. I'll catch y'all soon. Probably back tomorrow.